Oh, what up? So today, guys, I made this little rattan skull, and I'm gonna show you how I did that. So cool.
What up? All of these lines are super distracting, but it's officially autumn, fall. So of course I've already gotten a cold.
I'm sick.
And I'll have a cold till the end of winter. Also, I've been wearing these overalls for forever. Since I got them like a week ago. I really like them. They're nice and warm.
I'm actually editing right now and still wearing them, so I got a problem.
But also, to the point, we're gonna make a little rattan skull. I can pretend and be like, oh, I'm doing this because it's Halloween. But honestly, I'd probably do this anyways. Like, I'd probably have done a skull whether it was like July or... So, I'm gonna show you how I made this. So let's go.
So this is the green weave from the last video. It didn't turn yellow like I wanted, but it still looked cool. And you can check out the video, because I'm going to use a lot of the techniques I did there for this one. So I asked you guys on Instagram what you think I should sculpt. We're using the rattan, and I went with the skull, of course. So I thought I could use like a pre-made weave and just like get it wet and mush it around the skull, but that didn't work. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to weave it directly to this little skull. So I'm going to start by gluing one of those strands to the bottom, and then like tracing it across the whole face, making sure it's nice and tight, then supergluing it back to the bottom. Then I'm just gonna add another strand of that reed, supergluing it again. This whole thing basically is held together by superglue. So I basically just follow the shape with each little strand of reed to kind of match the contour of the skull to keep it nice and tight, because the idea here is that this will hold the shape of the skull. Hello, cat? Anyways, I didn't soak the reed in water before using it, so it wasn't really holding its shape very well. So I decided to take some tape and just tape it down. Use some scotch tape. And it was looking pretty good. So I started adding those horizontal lines that went all the way around the skull. This was going to make up like the little squares. So once I got all those horizontal lines on there, the next step for the rattan weave is to put an additional vertical one on top, next to like the one on bottom. So did that all the way around the skull. So the next issue I was kind of running into is how to get the skull out and how to keep the form of the skull once it's out. So my thought was, if I soaked the reeds for like 30 minutes, then maybe it would hold its form once the reeds dried. So put it in my bathtub. Once it was done soaking, I just took it out and pressed the reeds up against the skull, making sure everything was nice and tight. I had to cut it in a couple places and glue it back down, but then I just let it dry and cut that skull in half, including the reed. With that, hopefully I'll be able to take out the skull, and it should leave like a little skeleton weave guy to work with. I had to pry off some of the reeds because they were super glued onto the skull, but for the most part, they both came out pretty well. And then I just had to glue it back together. I mostly did this because to do the next part and weave a reed in there, it would have been next to impossible if it was still on the skull. So I just did the opposite of what those horizontal ones were doing already on the skull. I also found that if I like hooked the start of the reed that I was trying to weave, it helped me go under and up over the reed so I could weave it through. So I just did that over and over and over again until I had one woven in there. Now to just weave an additional horizontal one next to all the other ones. I also found if I used tweezers, that helped a lot. And good. So we have that first weaving part done. Next, what we're going to do is put in that diagonal one. So I went under the two vertical ones and over the two horizontal ones, under, over until I had this vertical stripe in there. Then I just had to do that all over. There were some parts where like I had to like bend it to match the shape of the skull, but for the most part it was pretty easy. And I just had to like weave it in without worrying if it was going to keep the shape of the skull or not. But I got all those ones done, and time to add a diagonal one in the opposite direction. I just went through, used that tweezers a lot, especially for these tiny little holes right there. And instead of me filming the last part of this, I did something special. I actually live streamed the whole entire ending of it, and it was like a 5-hour live stream. So thanks for all you who stuck around that whole time. We only got interrupted by my mom's face call once, and we decided the name of the skull was Montgomery Skull. I think for these longer projects that do take a while, I will be live streaming them. So if you guys want to watch me do that, you can follow me on Twitch.
So, for this next part, I'm actually going to go to my buddy's shop because he has some tools that I don't, and we're going to clean up the top here. Cool. Okay, bye. Nope, bye.
So we're headed over to Weston's shop. He's the one that I did the boot wallet video a couple videos back. And he has this big old leather shop where he makes a bunch of camera harnesses and whatnot. When I looked for him in his office, he wasn't there. And I figured he was probably in the bathroom. The woman's bathroom. Yep. Also, my mic went out. So when I confronted him, he was just like, well, I didn't do that. And then he like shamelessly plugged his YouTube channel. Rosanville. So anyways, this is a tool that we're here for. It's a rotary tool, kind of like a Dremel, but it's powered by a foot pedal that makes the little guy spin. So it's super nice, super convenient. So I just took a little circle. I took a little circle blade and began cutting it in, used a lot of super glue, and of course I broke it. So I had to put a new little blade on. Once we got that on, we were good to keep cutting. And started a fire. It was real smoky. But once I got it pretty much through, I just took some scissors to clean up more. And now I can stick my finger on the inside and start gluing down those pieces that are sticking up. But before I do that, I want to kind of clean up that circle. So I just put on a little sander guy to make the hole nice and pretty. All I had to do was the same thing to the bottom. Cute. So last thing I did with that rotary tool was clean up some of the super glue that had built up. All that's left now is to pretty up these holes. So, wow, what a transition. So my thought was I'd use like this little ring that I'd wrapped the reed around and somehow put on top. So I made that as I just made a little circle with the reed, glued together in a circle, and with some super glue, started wrapping another piece of reed around it. Once I got it all wrapped up, just cut off the excess and put it on. But I didn't like how it looked, so I thought maybe if I put like a little cap like that, then put it on, maybe it'd look good. But it just looked like a hat to me, so I'd rip that guy off. And tried maybe just like a single piece of reed, didn't like that. Tried a super thin one, and decided to scrap it all. And try that first little ring that I showed. And I just super glued that bad boy in there. Then just took a razor to shave it down so it was flush with the skull. For the bottom, I just added a bunch of super glue and like wrapped a single piece of reed in there because it didn't need to look too pretty. And we're done. So I was actually kind of having a hard time getting like the final shots of this. It was hard to really show off the curves of the skull on film. Thought maybe if I had a second light angle, maybe that would work. And yeah, I think you can kind of see all the bends and whatnot. But I think overall I'm pretty pumped on it. I think my favorite part were like the cheekbones, how they jutted out, and like how it connected with the jaw right there. I don't know, what do you guys think? What part do you guys like best? Think I should do another one, maybe a different shape? I'm actually like kind of surprised how well it held its form of the skull after I took it out. So there you are, a woven rattan skull. So sorry again guys for the late video. This one took me forever to make. I try to get a video out every other week, and I think on these log projects I'll start streaming on Twitch, so you can follow me there. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe if you like it, leave a like, whatever, all that good stuff. Also, the next video will be for the Kickstarter that I'm gonna launch. So, cool.